Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself today. It's a pleasure to come your way one more time with Analyze This. And I have my co-pilot,
Who
Mr.
is on time today?
Frimpong. Huh?
I say, who is on time today?
Man, we understand you're a busy man, so we appreciate your presence every time and your contribution. So we're very grateful to have you on board. Alrighty, without much ado, we'll just go straight to the point. Today we're going to be touching on little bits of everything. Um, we don't have a specific topic we're going to be discussing, but we're going to be talking about issues concerning Ghana. We'll be talking a lot about attitude. Um, but before we move straight into the discussion and the conversation, I just want to reiterate our statements that we don't entertain insults on this platform. Um, we don't believe insults can solve any problem. And we're here to find solutions to problems. We're here to solve problems. So whatever is not going to help in that direction, we don't entertain on this platform. And again, creativity and inventions are not by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. I want to repeat myself. Creativity and inventions are not by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. On that platform, you're once again welcome to analyze this. And we are going to zoom in straight to talk about attitude. So we believe that for the past few weeks, we've been talking about um, instant justice in Ghana, where if you happen to be unfortunate to find yourself in an obscure place and or in a place where um people are a little bit on the edge because of previous happenings in that area, and somebody shouts thief, that is your death sentence. And we talked about the fact that it's happened over and over and over. Um, and it, just recently, not too long ago, we had a military guy who got lynched in public. We thought it was going to be the last of such incidents because we thought certain drastic measures were going to be put in place to curtail that attitude. But it looks like nothing was done about it, and we were looking at it from both the perspective of leadership as well as the people, the communities, leadership in terms of um, enforcing laws, educating people on some of these things, because I personally believe some of these people don't even see anything wrong with administering justice to somebody they think is a criminal. I can bet my paycheck on this. You walk on the streets, you talk to people, you can find, I don't have the statistics, but I believe you can find majority of the people who would believe that it's okay because the person is a thief. What do we do to a thief? I hear people making statements like that. What do you think we do to a thief? You understand? So we believe that leadership should be up and doing. I mean, when we make mention of leadership, we're talking about every spectrum of leadership, leadership from the home, leadership in our communities, the churches, the mosque, the shrines, wherever. place of worship, leadership in the schools. I mean, leadership across board goes all the way to governance. You know, we believe that we should be up and doing and take these matters into um our hands and seriously work towards it, because it's pathetic when it gets to a point where we are basically living like animals, you know, jamming on people because we suspect them, or we believe they have done something wrong, or we believe they have committed a crime, and not giving these people the opportunity to um defend themselves, or giving them the opportunity to stand before a court of law to be able to either acquit them or bring charges against them. So that attitude, we believe that needs to be nipped in the back, and it can only be done when leadership is up and doing. So the military guy came up. There was a lot of talk in Ghana. People made a lot of noise on radio. I mean, talking about the issue and not talking to the issue. And then it passed on. After a few weeks, it died down. And then recently we had this up and coming musician who was lynched in Kumasi, and same thing. We spoke about the issue. We did not talk to the issue. And I bet you a lot more probably had happened that we have no knowledge of, because this has become a trend. It's basically become an attitude. And like we were talking about it the other time, last week, we made mention of the fact that it's not just Ghana. It's at least I know about 3 African countries where we hear some of these stories. Kenya is one, Nigeria is one, you know. So it is about time we begin to get our priorities right, put in serious educational structures, both formal and informal, to inform the people, to enlighten the people on some of these things. It's not just the public lynching, but with a whole bunch of issues going on in Africa. I mean, when the issues come up, people are quick to talk about it. And yet we don't find solutions to the problems. We don't see it as an opportunity for us to look for lasting solutions or put measures in place to curb or to curtail such incidents. So the attitude of us being riled up when issues come up, and then we go back to sleep after a few days of shouting and making noise, is not helping our community. Recently, we had this actor who had an accident, and a 3-year-old child, lost his life out of the accident. Same thing. We spoke about the issue, but we did not speak to the issue. We didn't even talk about the car seat, protecting our children in some of these accidents. All people were concerned about is who was speeding and who was not speeding, forgetting about who did not strap a child in the car seat, or was a child in the car seat, was he strapped properly? Was he in a proper position, and all that stuff. So it looks as if when issues come up, we're quick to make noise about it. But what kind of noise are we making about it? Are we making noise to solve the problem, or we're making noise just to be heard? And I think the latter is what I believe happens. We're making noise for us to be heard, because I really heard some journalists who were very vocal about and angry about this situation. One time I had to test a French journalist. I said, you guys need to channel your anger to solving the problem, but not rehashing the issues, the problems, and who did this and who did that and who did not do this. But this has happened. Let's look at the issue. What are the measures we need to put in place? Okay, let's start campaigning against putting our kids in harm's way by not strapping them in car seats. Let's start campaigning against or educating the people on the issues of overspeeding. You know, let's put measures in place to stop the reoccurrences of some of these issues. It looks like we just respond to issues when they come up and then we go back to sleep without finding solutions to the problems. And I believe that attitude is something we really, really need to look at. We really need to look at it. In places, in advanced communities, when issues happen, they take advantage of what has happened to correct or put measures in place within that community to correct that particular issue. But it looks like it's not so when it comes to our part of the world. We just lament, talk about it, make noise, and go back to sleep. All right, Prof, if you have something to add up to it.
Yes, I wanted to also reiterate the fact that there is no perfect society anywhere on planet Earth. If anybody who listens to us knows of a place where there are no problems, you are by all means, it would be wonderful if you can tell us where that society is. But in my life, in my conversation with people from different parts of the world, and in my physical observation, what I personally have come to understand that there are societies that progressively get better with time, and they are continuously, relentlessly advocating for a better society. It does not mean they get better. I have to put in that caveat, but they will continuously and relentlessly pursue problems that they see within their society, whether they are getting results or not, and they don't let it slide. And whenever there is another incident that portends to what they are fighting against or fighting to make better, it gives them renewed energy to recount all the old deeds that were not good, so that a renewed vigor towards the fight for justice and administrative justice in that instance becomes renewed. I mean, that reminds me of my grandmother. I was a spoiled child living my life in Kumasi, not really participating in how the house is run. When I was sent to live with her, she considered me the laziest or one of the laziest dudes she's ever had to raise. And whenever I did something wrong, my grandmother had a photographic memory. He would tell you what you did when you were 6 years, 9 years, 14 years, this and that. He will recount it all the way to the present to make you aware that she has a file. My grandmother could not read or write, but she had a file in her mind about your endeavors and why, if you don't change your way, you are going to become a burden on society. So one day, one of my aunties, after one of these episodes, one of my aunties called me, said, "There is a conversation I want to have with you." And then she took me aside and said, "You know what? Your grandmother has been saying this and this and this and this and this about you. And now you are no longer the 7, 8-year-old boy that we thought was going to change. You are now about to go to secondary school and you are still behaving the way you did when you were in middle school. If you do not change right now, what makes you think you are going to be a productive member of our society?" I remember that day as if it was yesterday. And that day when I was walking home, I was like, man, I thought I was just a kid. I think it's time for me to. So this our way of attacking an issue when it is fresh and just leave it alone once the heat boils over. It is so bad. And it is not just Ghana. I believe it must be everywhere in Africa. That's why our societies do not progressively move. I can assure you that the Kumasi I knew in 1992 as I got out of high school was far better than the Kumasi I know today. I can pinpoint to certain deep seated social issues that are retrogressing instead of getting better. Is it fatigue? Is it what? Do we get so belabored and so discouraged by the lack of progress that we just stop? And that's the reason why when we were talking about the lynching, I was harping and harping on the security apparatus and systems and the judiciary, the court systems, and about because they have the leverage. Our elders, the chieftaincy institution, the Christian and Muslim communities, the local or religious, indigenous religious bodies that have a sway, a powerful influence on our community. That is why I always go back and put the blame at their doorstep. Because if people are talking about somebody just stole a goat and you have given him 40 years, but then we find out that somebody just by the dint of their pen stole $30 million and they go scot free. You are creating an imbalance and a perception within the society that you really don't care. And when this becomes the narrative, not just for a short period, but over decades, the people that you are trying to serve that need to trust you don't trust you. They will go back to their animal instinct. And that is where my personal, my professional beliefs and experience has come to make me conclude. Because what we see, we are only using the instant justice as maybe a bedrock of what we are discussing, but that's not the only problem that I see that exhaustion in the population over. And it is not just limited to Ghana. You mentioned Kenya, Nigeria, and all these places because they are English speaking and it's easy for us to access their information. I bet you Togo has the same problem. The Ivory Coast will have the same problem. Our brethren in Burkina Faso will have the same problem. Those in Conakry, those in Djibouti, because our systems are failing us. So I don't know what we're going to do as people to bring us to the table to solve these problems, but I always believe that we should go back to our traditional leaders and let them start the progress, add it to the modern ways of doing things. The journalists, our court systems, our security systems, the presidency, and every leader in a conspicuous position of authority who has leverage. And so I am very happy that you brought about that all levels of leadership starting from the home. Because in the home, the parents have leverage. They have leverage to raise up their kids the way they should be raised. We need to prioritize and put our money where our mouth is. We cannot continue to pay lip service to an issue that keeps on killing our people. Posterity is going to judge us all if we continue to do that. That's my take.
Yeah, so basically, part of Or the majority of the problem lies, I wouldn't even say at the doorsteps, because within it's because of the fact that we don't have leadership. Let me put it that way. You know, because leadership sets the agenda and drives the agenda.
Exactly.
And if we don't have leadership, it means we don't have an agenda. So anybody gets up and does what he or she thinks is good and not what is right, you know. Um, it's pathetic. I was talking to somebody about leadership, and I said it is not about leading. You know, leading is an action word, is a verb. Anybody can do that. It brings into mind a statement somebody made, any idiot can go to court. You know, leading is a
Mm-hmm.
verb. Anybody can do that. But leadership is a noun you have to become. And he was like, what do you mean? So I had to break it down this way. Leading does not make you, or leading is not leadership. I can look for a bunch of people to influence them and they'll look up to me, but I may not be providing them with leadership. Yeah, and the example is, for instance, eating. I can put food in my mouth, right? I'm eating. But what is the purpose of that food I'm putting in my mouth? What is the purpose of eating? Is to get nutrients from what you put in your mouth to re-energize you or to energize you or to keep you moving, you know? So the fact that I feel my tummy with something does not mean I have eaten. I don't know if I'm making sense. I can feel my
Definitely.
tongue, for instance, with junk food. Even though
Exactly.
I have eaten, I have not eaten because the food that I put in my mouth to fill my tummy is not going to serve the purpose of eating. So if I am leading a people or I'm leading a group and I'm not fulfilling the purposes of leadership, that's not leadership.
That's just leading.
You're just leading. So that goes to the fact that leading is a verb, and just anybody can get up and do it, because you can definitely find people you can influence in whichever area, and they'll be looking up to you. But leadership is where you build the capacity. I want to say this. Leadership is when you build the capacity to serve and to influence others with your gift. So, in other words, there is no leadership if you don't have gifts, if you don't have service, if you don't have influence.
And you don't have results to show for it.
Right.
There has to be an
So,
endpoint.
yes. So, when you build the capacity, building the capacity is building you. So, leadership starts with you. What are the values you have built for yourself? You know, if you have not built that capacity, trust me, that is why I keep telling people I don't trust most of these people who come to sit on TV and make a lot of noise about this government or that people or these people, and even insult. You see, until you build that capacity, you can make all that noise. When you're given the opportunity, you probably will do worse because you have
That's why
not built that capacity.
we keep seeing that. We keep seeing that when they are not in government, their words and their actions are so wonderful.
Yeah.
But once you give them the power and the actual leverage that they can use to influence society, positively, they have not set any agenda, or the
Mm-mm.
agenda that they have set is for their parochial interest and not for the good of the society. And so these are the things that we really need to check when we are talking about leadership. Okay. And one of the things that we continuously say here too is that what kind of society are we building? What kind of society are we proud to live in? What kind of society do we want to bequeath to the generations that are coming after us? Will you want your child to just be beaten to death without being given uh, the chance to defend themselves in an appropriate jurisdiction, whether be it at the local chief's palace or at the court house? Look, these things that we were talking about, I remember you talking about the criminal labor law being expunged and a new law being put in place. One of these political pundits said he said something 7, 8 years ago, and because now he's criticizing our government, he was asked to come to the police station. When he went there, they charged him with a crime, and in charging him with the crime, they actually arrested him. They banded, according to him. I'm not gonna display any bias here. According to him, they banded around charges until one could stick. Americans will say, throw anything at the wall and whatever sticks, you take it. That's what they did to him, according to him. But once they did that, the system demands that you give the person a bail within 24 hours if the person satisfies the conditions of the bail. So they took him to the courthouse. He slept overnight at the police barracks, what we call counterback. They took him to court the following day, processed everything. They wanted to see if he has surety so that he gets the bail. He satisfied every condition. Do you know the lie they told him? They told him, we are going back to the police station so that we do the paperwork and you sign, and then we bring you back to court. He didn't know that was a lie, according to him. He signed, they handcuffed him again. He went straight to the police station. They took off the handcuffs and told him that he should take off his clothing and his jewelry and everything like they do when they are putting you in jail. Me, I don't even understand why they do that. And then when we are done with the paperwork, we will come and get you. And the guy said he grew so angry. If he had not grown angry, they were going to put him back in jail. He said, you guys lied to me that we are coming here for paperwork for me to sign. What is it with paperwork that I need to be inside a jail cell before you can do it? And his lawyer was right there. So imagine if he had no lawyer, if he didn't know his rights, if he didn't know how the system works. He said they were just going to put him back in there and forget about him. Because when he was in prison the previous time, he said there are people in remand that have been in there for more than 6 months, which the law forbids, who have not been charged. You see, we can talk about you raising your case right, about this person doing this, about it, but when explicit laws are disobeyed by security people because somebody from above has given them instructions to go against the very laws that they are supposed to go by. How do you expect ordinary citizens like me and you to respect laid down procedures, laws for our society to seamlessly run efficiently towards what leadership is supposed to do? That is why I personally always put the honor on people with leverage, people that we have given our mandate to do the right thing first. As I have always said, don't expect the sheep to shepherd themselves. That is why we have paid for a shepherd. So how does the police tell me to obey the laws when they themselves, who are supposed to be the custodian of law and order, disobey the law? It is the same case with a policeman demanding a bribe from a motorist. When the motorist knows that the policeman has leverage against him, and it is the policeman demanding a bribe. It is not the motorist trying to give the policeman a bribe. These are some of the instances that brings me to the issue of confidence, the issue of trust that I am always harping on. Because until we see consistently good behavior from leadership, don't expect the sheep to do any better than the shepherd. Monkey see, monkey die. That's how our society has become. And so we can always talk about, oh, you can do better than that. No, no. You cannot do better than what is expected of you in most society. Because the problem is that everybody else around you, you could be the shining star, but you be the one suffering. Let me bring another example. I don't know if you have seen or heard about the amount of corruption and money being bandied about the recently ended All African Games in Ghana.
Right.
Okay. I was having this discussion with some of my classmates, and they were talking, you need to be patriotic, you need to be this and that. What is patriotism? Love for country. How do people develop love? Love does not develop in a vacuum. I remember you giving me a history lesson and a grammar lesson that love is a command and it's a noun, and it's an action verb all at the same time. I have two videos of Ghanaians who are athletes participating, not for their own glory, but for the glory of Ghana in these games. One guy needed a 9.5 shoe for tennis. And for sports like tennis and any other sport, you cannot wear a brand new shoe to go and compete. You need to sort of weather the shoe or any equipment for that matter before the game even starts. They gave him his shoes hours prior to his first game, and the shoes were size 11. He wears 9.5. He's been talking and talking and talking and talking about you need to give us. He says he pays for his own training. He pays for his own professional training. They put him in the back of a van to go to the game. And they gave him the wrong size shoes. When he asked them, I asked you for 9.5, they couldn't. And this guy was saying, you guys expect us to be patriotic. You expect us to win game. But you will not even put the necessary inputs for us to do well. Whereas other countries are doing that. Some countries came, saw our pitches and said, we are not playing on these pitches. As of today, from the last check that I made, hotels that athletes from other countries were lodged in have not been paid. But the monies that are supposed to be given to these hotels have been given by the African continent to our government long ago. So when you tell me as an athlete to be patriotic, to wake up 5 a.m., go for a jog, to train consistently for years, to be at that forefront to win a medal for the country, why are you surprised that nobody cares and that you see Ghanaians competing for other nations? They were born and bred in Ghana, but they leave and go compete for other nations. Why do you think that? Are they unpatriotic, or we are creating a very toxic environment for our people to own a partnership of what is Ghana. And then you find out that $16 million was supposedly spent on feeding of athletes for 8 days. And you yourself knows that the food they gave you, if you multiply it by the number of days and by the number of athletes, shouldn't even be $1 million. What will you do next time? And that's why I come back to the trust. It's a reciprocal. There's no way any athlete who took part in this game and understood later on the cost that this game was supposed and the amount of items he himself was supposed to receive, and he never got them, and it's been itemized to his name. What do you think he will do next time? Hmm? The top boss of GBC says they gave him only about $100,000, but somebody is trying to tell him to say he was given $3 million for programming and for. And this guy was asking that there are bank records that shows how much you gave me. I am not saying you gave me anything more than you gave me, unless you can prove by the. You see, these are the wonderful people we need, and this is a leader. That's why we are talking here that there is a very big difference between being a leader and leading. This guy could have said, okay, okay, from above. He's saying, show me the trace of the amount of money you say you have given me. There is this journalist that was saying that for every competition that we go to, we buy the rights to the television, we buy the rights to the airwave transmission and all that. In the case of Ghana, we were paying. We were paying for the rights to the TV. So are they telling us that when ESPN and all these other foreign agencies were transmitting the All African Games from Ghana, they did not pay anything? Ghana did not benefit in any way. But these things are expensive. And you expect the individual Ghanaian, the individual Nigerian, the individual Kenyan to be patriotic. When he sees those of you in positions of power, who should lead the way in being patriotic? Just taking advantage of the largesse of what is supposed to be all of us, our resources together.
So I just have a little concern about the statement the GBC, the director of GBC made. In my opinion, I want to believe that he really did not choose his words wisely. Sorry, not wisely, but choose the proper words, or he chose his words wisely to play politics with this whole thing. Because the question was, to my understanding, did GBC receive that money or not? Which is a simple question. And the straightforward answer is no, we did not get 3 million. We got X amount of money. But he said GBC did not benefit. GBC benefited from, I forgot how he put it, only 100 and something thousand. What is the benefit for? Does it mean after you took every expenditure from the 3 million, you benefited 100,000? Do you understand what I'm saying?
That is an obtuse statement.
So he either chose his words carefully to play politics, or he did not really realize the words he was using. We didn't ask the benefits you got from it. We're asking how much money was given to you. So, which was a simple question that demands a simple answer. No, we didn't get 3 million, but we were given 100,000. But if you say we benefited 100,000 from it, what does it mean? So that's my take on that. But I really didn't follow up on that issue this week. I've really been busy, so I didn't follow up. Actually, I wanted us to talk about that issue, but because I didn't follow up on that issue, I didn't want us to do injustice to the issue.
To the issue. So maybe
But
we can come back to it
yeah,
next week
yeah,
because it's something that really, really bothered me because
of
some of
course.
my so-called very educated friends and classmates, when people have been beaten down to the point whereby when something serious crops up, they make jokes about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we have reached.
So this week, let me chip in this. As you were talking about leadership and all this stuff, this week I posted something on Facebook about the fact that we don't need leaders with good heart, but we need leaders, or we need people who have developed the capacity to do the right thing.
To
And
actually change things.
right, and one of my younger brothers didn't really understand what I mean. He thinks somebody with a good heart would do the right thing. But this is the point. As you were talking, good is relative
Very relative.
and it appeals to emotions.
Emotional responses. That's why
You
we are
know,
we are so good at that.
we don't need leaders who lean towards emotional responses. We need leaders who will do the right thing because right is not relative. Right is defined by law. You know, so as you were talking about leadership, I realized it's the lack of understanding of some of these things. Oh, he's a good man. You know what? The other time when we went to him for some contract, he gave it to us. But did
Irrespective of whether the contract was
right,
supposed to be given or not.
right. Oh, I did him good some time back. So it's like he's paying me back. I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of thing. So he's a good man. He has a good heart. But we need people who will say, yes, I know you. You're my friend. But this is how we go about obtaining contracts. You know,
Hmm.
I can introduce you to whoever, which is not wrong,
Not wrong.
but you
If you
have to go through
qualify,
the
there is
part.
nothing wrong.
Thank you. So we need people who have developed the capacity to do the right thing.
Ethical, ethical
It
ability
is,
to
this
look.
is the law. That is the law. I can't do anything about it. I can't bend it. I can't go around it. That is the law.
And if the law is not serving our purpose, that is why we are
We change the
paying
law.
260 some people on a monthly basis to promulgate new laws that fit our circumstances. So it is not for any individual to become the judge and jury and beat somebody to death because he doesn't like the laws of our country. It boils, like you were saying, it boils down to people not understanding that this there is a systematic, laid down way to do certain things. And if that is why AfriWeek is non-political, it does not mean we are apolitical.
Mhm.
There's a very big difference between the two.
Right.
But the biggest issue I've seen in this world is that once somebody identifies with a certain political party or a certain ideology, a certain tribe, a certain family, a certain church, whatever the subset is, they refuse to think that there are ethical and legal laid down procedures that should sort of interrogate our conduct with our fellow human beings. We refuse to think like that. Oh, I'm a Republican. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what a Republican does. Oh, I'm a Democrat. It doesn't matter what a Democrat does.
That's why
I'm a
one of my
Methodist.
favorite politicians in this country was McCain.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He is a man of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
He is a man who, that's why they call him a maverick. He could stand in front of his own president and say, Jack, this ain't going to happen under my watch because it is simply not the right way to do things.
Yep.
Nobody is sitting here saying he's perfect. Nobody is saying that. But we are saying he showed grit
Mm-hmm.
and
When it comes
courage.
to choosing what is right as against what is good, he will go with what is right.
Yep, yep. And we have multiple examples in our own community back home in Africa, in
Oh
Ghana.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I have a friend who is always saying that we refuse to give good examples about Africa. We know of Nelson Mandela.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We know what he stood for. When people were looking for vengeance, he was like, no.
Oh, thank you. That even explains, I could have used that as an example to explain my point as to good and right. You know, it was gonna serve some people good, and they were gonna clap for Nelson for him to pay back these people in their own coin. But Nelson thought about the fact that, is it right? Let me do the right thing as against doing a good thing to appease certain group of people, to chant my name as a hero because I paid these people back in their own coin. But he chose not to do what is good, but rather do what is right. You know, so we need leadership. Everything we're talking about here boils down to leadership. The lack of
Leadership is the
leadership,
cause.
yep, is what is,
Everything else is effect.
yep.
And I was giving this example to a friend of mine who didn't understand. I said, let me tell you what leverage is. And leverage is only the preserve of people in leadership. And if they want to use it for the right thing, it is beautiful. And when they want to use it for the wrong thing, it is devastating. And that's why we keep telling people that anybody can lead. But is the person leading people towards the conscious stated goals that will make your society better? And the example I'm giving is from Ghana. During the last two election cycles, there was an issue of free SHS. Some people were saying it should be tackled. Some people were saying it shouldn't be tackled at this particular point of time. And whether it would have been tackled or not depended on who won the election. Because who won the election have the leverage. It doesn't make the opposition party leader a non-leader. He's still the leader of his people, but does he have the leverage to stop the progression of the free SHS? He didn't. And that's why Ghana had the so-called free SHS, because the one in charge has the leverage to do that. For all the wonderful things Martin Luther King Jr. did, he could not change a single law on the books of the United States. It took a president to say that this man has been sacrificed on the altar of
Lyndon Johnson.
injustice. So I am going to make sure his legacy goes with these changes. Who had the leverage? Not Martin Luther King. It was the president because he had the power and the leverage to force this to happen. That's why, Nana, you see me keep coming back to these people that we have given our mandate to, who actually hold the leverage.
You know what? That even a quick one brings something to mind. So it is not who definitely has the power, but who has the authority.
The
Because Dr.
authority,
King had some power. But he had no
Serious.
authority.
He has serious power. He
But no
decided to
authority.
march. Exactly. He
Wow.
decided to march on Washington. And the amount of interracial no, not interracial, the cross section of different races that walked with him should tell you he had power.
Right.
I watched Malcolm X, and even the police officers in New York City said a Negro should not have this much power.
Mm,
That's what they said.
mm.
Because the guy had power. He could speak and millions will come. Did he have the leverage and the authority to change anything? No. Look, I always say, whenever we are talking about these issues that confront us, let's go back to our adages and our uh, proverbs. Sɛ obi so kyɛn wa, obi wɔ tumi kyɛn wa, ɔworɔ wo ka wafa wabati. Okay, to wait. If somebody has more authority than you, he will take your ring off through your shoulder. The ring cannot even fit your hand. So that should tell you. Look, the Otumfuo came back from South Africa years back, walked straight to Adum without any fanfare, and he said, nobody can sell stuff on my pavement. He just declared nobody has the right to sell stuff on my pavement. The next day, the pavements were clean. Do you know how long the KMA boss had been trying to get people off the pavement? So the KMA had power. They could beat people, they could put people in jail. Who had the authority? That's the power of leverage. That is the power of leverage. That's why I always want to ask our people who are in this position, please lead by example. Because the moment you do, the small fish know that he or she cannot do otherwise.
Yeah, but then again, I believe most of these people in positions of power don't even understand their position. Uh,
That's why
uh,
I also agree with you that until you have actually become, you shouldn't be in that position.
oh yeah,
The first step, you told me once, and I had to research that, and I have to agree with you that the best gift you can give to your generation when you know you are not equipped to do the job is to step aside.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
those people will earn the maximum respect of their community, knowing that I've been given this task, but I'm not equipped. I'm not capable of doing it.
and the better thing is to point to someone. Like if you are a mechanic, I bring you my car. It is the carburetor that needs fixing. You know you don't fix carburetor. Please don't try to fix.
Mm,
Say, hey, this guy over here is a much better mechanic than I am. I'm calling him. That's leadership.
yeah, yeah. So, with all that's been said, it goes back to leadership. Let us, and one of the things we believe is that basically with the older generation, there's very little or nothing we can do about. That is why we are vested in grooming and training the younger generation so we can break that cycle, that wrong concept of leadership that's been implanted in their minds. We want to break that cycle for them to understand that leadership is not about power. It is not about you influencing people, but it is about you having a gift, developing that capacity, developing yourself, leading yourself, becoming a leader to yourself first by developing those qualities, those principles, and developing the capacity to be able to give your gift to your community, to serve them first before you influence them. Because you cannot, any influence without service will lead to chaos. Service would have to be the ingredient or the main ingredient of influence. The only way I go to my mechanic is because he provides me service. And so he's influenced me when it comes to his knowledge on cars. So if I have a problem with my car right now in the middle of the road, the first person that comes to mind is to call my mechanic. That is the level of influence because of his service, his gift.
Exactly.
So if we really want to fix what is going on in our communities, we really need a new crop of people who understand the leadership. Because without leadership, like you said, there's no agenda, and without agenda, no priorities, and that will lead to chaos.
You
A
cannot
quick
even
one.
measure your progress.
Yep, I see NH join us on Zoom.
Oh, yes, Nana. Yes, Nana Hagen from
Oh,
the UK.
yes, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how
Good,
are you
good.
guys also doing? You and Kojo?
Doing awesome, doing awesome. The prof is
Wonderful,
firing here,
wonderful.
so yeah. Would you really want to introduce yourself and maybe put in your 2 cents before we close the curtains? Because we're about to shut everything down.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to be, just quiet behind the scenes, but you just put me on the spot. Yeah, my name is Nana Abena Uswahigan. Anyone watching me? I'm the host of the British online talk show called The Inside View with Nana Hagen. And also, I'm also the founder of the Voice Academy called Emerge. And what we simply do is we reshape and also transform the mindsets of our young boys. And also the overall CEO of the platform CIC, yes, in the UK. Um, and many more. Yeah,
Awesome.
so I've been listening to your conversations. I think I missed the beginning, but I'm thinking it's to do with leadership in Africa.
Right.
If yes, I think there's a chief that I've actually chanced upon on Facebook called I think Nana. Um, hmm. But he's a chief of the Missouri, and
Okay.
actually doing an amazing stuff. I think I sent a link to Kojo. I think was it last
Okay,
week or something? Yeah,
we will look to that.
he's
Thank
doing
you.
something phenomenal. I mean, if we are looking for a leader, I mean, you just take some time out and watch the video, and then you come back and thank me later. I'm so intrigued by what this single person is doing in Ghana, and just doing it in the village somewhere in Ghana. Just trying to change the narrative. And
Mm.
I'm thinking, if we should have about 5 or 10 chiefs of this caliber, Ghana will change. Ghana will transform. Will transform. And I hope the leadership academy that you guys have embarked on will be able to affect many lives, especially this generation and even beyond, because we cannot do so much if we don't have leaders who truly understand what leadership is all about. So um I'm just trying to find ways where we can engage your services or indulge your services, and also not just only here in UK, but probably also in Ghana and beyond. So I will see what I can do, because just listening to you too, makes me I don't know, like it's given me just a glimmer of hope to still believe or see that we still have men um like who are still willing to train you know people to become good leaders, or to just drum it like into our heads or like into our memories that leadership is, I mean, it's not what we see out there, but there's a new form of leadership that we can all, study and become, good leaders. So, I just wish you guys good luck, and we'll see what that we can do, in future. The platforms here I see, and also Afrique. I think I've forgotten
Afterwards.
your
Afterwards.
yeah,
Afterwards.
Afrique. Yeah, the Afrique. Yeah. So well done, guys, and keep going. I know, sometimes it can be a bit discouraging, especially when you come online and let's say one person, two people, but trust me, keep going, because change does not come on a silver platter. It takes time.
No.
It takes time. It takes time. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Nana Hagen. We also
And
applaud all that you're doing.
yeah, I'm rooting for your girl who is coming for that praise conference.
Oh yeah.
Anaya
I
or
think I
something
saw
like
the
that.
I
She's
saw the
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's wonderful. We're rooting for her.
yeah,
Oh, thank
yeah.
you. Thank
We
you.
also appreciate all that you're doing. We need a lot more of these efforts all over Africa, all over the world to be able to push the frontiers because it's a huge world. And I can assure you, um, we are as solid and unmovable as the rock of Gibraltar.
No.
we, we,
We need
we
to.
I told
We don't
somebody the
intend
other
to stop.
time, if we are not looking for views, but we're looking for people to impact.
Yeah.
So that is our focus, and we're not going to give up. We can assure you, giving up is not in our DNA. So we can assure you we're going to move on till we see that glimmer of hope flare into a flame or a ball of fire, which would hover around and blow up in the African continent and people of African descent all over the world. So we want to thank you, and I appreciate you for taking time off your busy schedule and being a part of ANALYZ This today. On this note, we would like to close the curtain on ANALYZ This. Thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you so much for investing your time and resources and of being a part of leadership. ANALYZ This. We want to appreciate all of you because we believe that time is very, very, very valuable and very important. So for you to have the least time to be a part of this, we really appreciate it. And my name is Nana Osei Bonsu Jr. And my co-pilot
We're working upon.
and
We'll
our
see you
guest
later.
for today was Nana Hagen. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank
And
you
we're
for
going to
having
meet
me. Thank you.
again next week, same time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, can we talk behind the scenes, guys?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So if you could just undo the recording button so that yeah. Are you still recording? Are we still live?
One
If you can.
second.